Right. Good evening, everybody. Here we are at the...
Everybody?
Yep. So we've got quite a few people coming in at the moment. We'll just give them 5-10 minutes or a few minutes to arrive. If you are an attendee, you'll see a chat button there, and it would be cool if you could just say hello, say your name and where you are. I've got Constance, Daryl, Maria, Monica, Nicholas at the moment, and I'm not sure where anybody is coming from. Hi, Constance, sorry, from Germany. Guten Abend, I should say. We've got Maria Filippo, Kalispera, I guess that must be. Sounds a very Greek name. We've got Daryl.
Hi, Maria from Cyprus.
Yeah, or we're going to start talking Greek now. Monica from the Czech Republic. I don't know how to say good evening in Czech, nor unfortunately in Hungarian from Budapest. Mia hara, says Maria. Well, nice to hear that. Jane Jordanella, nice to see you here, Jane. I know exactly where you're from. Jane is from Malta. Well, living in Malta, where I'm based right at the moment. We've got several other people coming in. Jeff, where are you from, Jeff? I'm not sure where you live. Nice to see a bunch of people from all around Europe coming into the room. Should be an interesting evening. We'll be talking about making a self-tape, the best ways to do it. Primarily, I'll be running the conversation, and my friend and colleague here, Anthony, who's based in Los Angeles, California, will be our expert panelist. We'll give it just a couple of moments to see if we get a few more people in. Oh yeah, we've got a couple more. Jeff is an American living near Frankfurt, Germany. Frankfurt, very nice. I've been there. It's a very pleasant place.
Is Jeff the ex-military guy?
I don't know. Are you? Yes.
Yes, I pushed him on a job, actually, unbeknownst to him, through enCAST with a casting director in LA.
Oh, cool.
That was shooting in Germany.
Awesome. Awesome.
About 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. I don't remember. It was a while back.
Excellent. Well, we can slowly start anyway. I'm sure we'll have a. Oh, Nicholas is French but living in Budapest for 20 years. Bonsoir, Nicholas. Nice to have you with us. So I think that's all my languages done, isn't it? Oh, show me I haven't got anyone from Italy here. I could have said buonasera. Anyway, let me tell you roughly what's going to happen over the next hour or so. Anthony and myself will be talking about how to prepare an awesome self-tape, and the technical side, the artistic side, everything to do with that. And over this webinar is that we'll be recording this webinar, and in a couple of days we'll put this up online. So if there's anything you missed or anything else you want to know, you can come and have a look and get back to us on that. A couple more just like housekeeping things before we begin properly. We obviously hope you find this webinar useful, and certainly anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing what Anthony's got to say, because I've done a whole bunch of self-tapes this year. I've done about 10 or 15 self-tapes, but I know they can get better. And I know that every time I talk to Anthony, he comes up with another idea, and I think, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to use that next time. So like me, you're probably looking forward to what he's got to say. But this is the course. It's not a course, it's not a lecture, it's not a lesson, there's not homework or anything like that. It's just a conversation where Anthony and myself will be talking about self-tapes. However, of course, we would love to have your questions. If you've got any questions at all about what we're saying, or any points that we raise, or something that isn't quite clear to you, could you please put them into the question and answer box, which you'll see at the bottom of your screen, Q&A. If you put any questions there, we'll be able to see them as the conversation develops, and we'll be able to talk and go over those questions and hopefully answer those questions. And we'll probably, you know, if you're up for it, get a couple of people up on stage with us to make their questions as well. So that'll be cool. Now, I'd like to, before we finally begin,
I'm sure we can learn something from them as well that they have tried out.
That is totally true.
That would be good to hear as well. So
that is totally true. I mean, I think as actors, we all know that we never ever stop learning. I mean, whenever I even just watch a film to whenever I watch a YouTube video, I'm learning something from an actor, you know, little tips and tricks. And think, oh, I'll try that next time. So we can all learn from each other. I'd like to thank, before we begin, enCAST, who are sponsoring this webinar, which will be hopefully the first of many to come. So again, if you've got any things that you particularly would like to know, by all means, add them in the Q&A, and maybe on another webinar, we can go over those and prepare a webinar on that special topic. So before we begin, if you're not part of enCAST yet, please go along to www.encast.eu, make yourself a profile where you'll find actors all around Europe and casting directors looking for actors in Europe. Now, let us begin. I'm going to very quickly turn off the chat box for the moment so that we have your undivided attention, because there's so much information that we want to give you and take from you that we don't want any distractions at all. It's not because I don't love you, we just don't want any distractions. So let us talk about things then. Who are we? Well, you can see us both here. My name is Sean James Sutton. I'm a British actor. I live in Malta, and I've been a full-time actor for about 15, 20 years now, doing mainly cinema and television. And next year, I will be directing my first feature-length film. So trust me, this last few months, I have looked at possibly hundreds of self-tapes. So it gives you a very interesting perspective when you're on the other side of the camera looking at self-tapes, to know what makes good ones, what makes bad ones, and how they can be the best they can be, which is what we want to talk about tonight. I'm going to pass you over now to my colleague and friend, Anthony Skordi, who is in LA, and he's an actor there. Anthony, please.
Hi, Anthony Skordi. Now, I don't want what I say to put anyone off, or I want it to excite people, because I came from nowhere. And, you know, I was just thinking about what I was about to say, and I'm thinking this may scare people off. They'll think they won't have a shot, or it's so hard, or whatever. You know, I come from humble beginnings, you know, humble family. My dad was a barber. My mom was a ghetto bird, helicopter. Was a sewing machinist, and my dad eventually bought an ice cream van. So it wasn't in the cards for me to be treading the boards, as it were. Having said that, a sequence of events happened briefly. My dad was probably the age I am now, and he says, I look back on my life and I see things I wanted to do and I didn't do them. And I remember thinking to myself, I never want to be in that position ever again. So then, and I was the ripe old age of 24, 25 when I applied to drama school. I did a 3-year course at the Drama Centre London, which is sadly going to close by the look of it. I was at the Royal Shakespeare Company. I toured the world with Vanessa Redgrave. I did bits and pieces of TV. Working backwards over the I came to LA because I've been trying to move to Athens for over a year now, but I keep getting jobs and coming back to LA. And working backwards, I just finished. I came over here to do a TV series, a mini series called The Offer, and I'm playing Carlo Gambino. It's about the making of The Godfather. A few days ago, I was working for a few days with Gia Coppola, of all people, on a movie that she's directing, on a vignette that she's directing. I do a lot of voiceovers. I do a lot of motion capture. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Did a lot of guest stars. Co-star. No, I haven't done any co-stars. I've done guest star. I did I was in a British TV series recently. I worked with George Clooney on Catch 22. So, you know, all these things by right shouldn't have happened to me, but they did because I just focused and kept moving forward. So, you know, not to bore you all, but that's about, you know, all I should really say about that.
I think one of the interesting things is the way in which you got the offer, the TV series you're working on at the moment, filming at the moment, because wasn't that for a self-tape?
Yeah, but also last August, I was in Athens rehearsing my one-man play, Onassis, which I performed there. And during rehearsals, I had a Zoom audition for performance capture on a video game. And I did the audition over Zoom and booked that as well. So yes, I booked the Clooney thing off tape. I booked the British TV series off Prime Suspect 1973 from tape. I booked this current job. I booked the job that I just finished. I was pinned for several things, but because this job has first position, the offer has first position, no one wants to work around them. So I had to let go of 2-3 jobs that I couldn't do. So, and all of it is self-tape. And so there comes a point where one says, well, if it's going to be self-tape, how do I up my game? How do I become, show them the best of the best quality that I can along with my work, for them to see my work and hear my work.
So to start at the very beginning then, a script comes through the email and it says, okay, Anthony, we want you for this job. We want you to self-tape these 2 scenes here. How does it begin with you? How do you approach a self-tape in that respect from getting the scene in your email?
Sometimes I get the whole script as well. So then I look at the scene. I look at who's attached, who the people are behind it, who's in it, who's not in it. And then I'll read the sides and I say, is this interesting enough for me to read the script? And if I'm going to audition, if I'm going to lay the audition down, I'm going to read the whole script. But you see, I've been doing this a long time and I have a method of working. It's like, who am I? Where am I? What do I want? How am I going to get it? What's in my way? Where am I coming from? Where am I going? So all those questions are pretty automatic. And like, you know, everything that I do when the camera is focused on me and only me, there's no other distractions, has to be part of telling the story. Or something about, yeah, go on.
So you decide when you look at the scene, you ask yourself, if you like, what is the story of this scene? What am I doing in this scene to push the story forward? So it's all about the story for you rather than the character?
Yes.
See,
I can either impose my own rhythms on the character, because we're kind of going a little bit off subject, or not. I don't know what this is going to cover. Well, we're either going to, you know, impose my own rhythms on the character, or see what rhythms are already in the writing. See, if anyone here has ever watched my work, they'll know that they'll go, I've been sitting next to someone in a village in Leopetri, an English guy, family friend, and he'd watched me on TV a couple of nights before in the Blacklist, and he wasn't convinced it was me. And I'm not saying that's come as a great transforming actor. It's just, I don't impose myself on the character. I let the character impose itself on me. So
we'll move forward then. So once you've got an idea of the script, and
yeah, I think vitally, I think sidebar is this about the technical aspect of it, or
both? Both, because I find when I'm doing a self-tape, I approach a self-tape differently from if I were doing the actual scene. You know, I'm looking at it because there's nobody else to act with, if you like.
There always is. You see, that's the issue, you see, because if I'm going to do a self-tape and speak to nobody, then it's, you know, acting is reacting for me, and it's difficult to react in a self-tape, which is why I coach people anyway, but I kind of coach my readers as well and tell them, I kind of need this because I need to lock into you. I can't have a performance which is just me, exposit, just me talking. So I need to either focus on something or someone. Too, because if that's not there, then that's not possible.
The hardest thing that I find for me is when I'm doing a self-tape is the reader. I mean, I find this difficult, how I'm reacting to a reader, because I have my partner read to me and she's not an actor. And so sometimes it's difficult. I mean, that's one thing I'd like to know. How do you deal with not having if you like, a professional actor as a reader?
Okay, so I need to throw this in there. My friend Richie Stevens, he just booked a small movie, and I'm always reading for him, but we're doing it on Zoom. So there's no real reason. He's taping off his phone. I've got my iPad here with the sides, and I've got Zoom in front of me. He's taping on his phone, and I'm reading for him off my iPad. All right, and I think you mentioned that enCAST might be starting a platform where you'll be able to get people to read for you as well.
Apparently, I mean, I think I'd find it useful to have another person at the other end of the line somehow.
Right, it's absolutely necessary, and taping your own. I mean, here's the thing, folks. I have an absolute brilliant opportunity to present the best of what I can present, because I'm not in the room. I'm not going to say, oh, please, can I start again? Oh, can I do that again? Or I'm on my own with another person in the room or on Zoom or wherever. So if I present something which isn't like, they're going to say, is this the best that this person could do? So, and it's not about feeling my audition. It's about what am I doing? What am I doing? To act is to do. So what am I doing in this scene? How am I trying to affect the other character? How has it affected me? And like, acting isn't playing emotions. That's emotional masturbation. The acting for me, the emotion is the flat. If we imagine it's a plant, we have the roots, we have the stem, we have the leaves, and then we finally have the plants. Without that stuff, then just playing the emotion is nothing. So I'm not doing anything. Yeah, you are. I didn't feel it. You're not supposed to be feeling it. All I have to do is tell the truth and be in the moment. Tell the truth and be in the moment. And it's dealing with the character thoughts. What's my inner life? What's my inner dialogue? Because the camera picks up. The camera will pick up my inner dialogue.
Definitely.
So so I read the script if I like it, and then in my mind, see, I never do it behind a blank wall. I do it wherever I'm able to. And usually and I use a camera and I use a lens, which puts everything out of focus in the back, and I use a microphone.
So you don't use a smartphone, an iPhone?
No, Richie, and I've booked TV series with a smartphone. An episode.
I think this is true. I mean, as long as you have a decent smartphone, is absolutely fine. Now,
can I add to that? If you do use a smartphone, here's your problem. The problem that I found was the phone is here, the reader is here, and I'm in front of the camera. So what's going to happen? The reader is going to be louder than the actor. So therefore, I need to find a way of dealing with that. What I eventually did, I went from my phone to a USB camera, then back to my phone because it was better than the USB camera. And I bought a lav mic, which was able to go into the jack of the phone. And I could pin up, and you could buy one for 10 euros, 12 euros, 25 euros, whatever. I mean, I think it'd be a good idea for enCAST to set up a page where, suggested self-tape equipment can be purchased.
I actually, what I do is I have one smartphone on a tripod over there filming me with the reader behind. And then again, like Anthony, I use a lav mic. and that's just plugged into another smartphone, which is just recording the sound, which is in my pocket. So I find
see, that's complicated. See, that gets complicated.
Well, no, I like it. It's working. It's working there.
All you need is a lav mic that goes into the phone.
Yeah, but that could be like sort of 3 meters away.
That's up to you.
Yeah, no, it's in my pocket. I'm happy with that.
No, the lav is going to be on you.
Yeah, but it goes into the microphone, into the other smartphone in my pocket.
Right. Well, it can go into the one that's filming anyway.
Miles away.
Right. But we're trying to simplify it. So if you've got, 3 meters of cable on the lav, you can just plug it into that phone. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there editing and the sound and this.
I'm a bit anal about that. I quite like editing. So, but anyway, we'll move swiftly on. From
if I told you what I used, I used, a Video Mic Pro Plus by Rode, which is over $300 mic plus tax, which goes into a DSLR, and I've got the mic on a boom stand, and I've got lighting. So, it depends on how far you want to take it. But
I think that's the thing. You can start off with as I did, I don't know, I think I did my first self-tape probably about 5 years ago or something like that. And it was literally just the smartphone over there, and that was it. The sound was terrible, the light was terrible. So I invested in some lights, but now I'm going to move on to, I know you have different lights, but I was going to start using one of those, what do they call it? The circular lights.
Oh, ring light.
A ring light, just to, brighten the scene a little bit. But you have a sort of a slightly more upmarket solution, don't you, Anthony?
Well, yeah, you can buy on the clip. I don't know, how do most people do their self tapes? If they do them on the phone, you can buy a phone grip which has a hot shoe on the top. A hot shoe or a cold shoe is where you can slide something into the top of the camera. Well, they have it actually on the holder. Okay. And you can slide an LED light on that because it's of vital importance. For instance, if I've got light coming from above, it's going to cast light on my face downwards. So I need that one light to pick up my eyes because that's what's telling the story. It's in my eyes. So I need that one light on top of the camera.
I will write that down because I actually hadn't thought about that you want the light on your eyes because that's where, window on the soul and all that. That's quite interesting. By the way, can I just interrupt for 1 second and say that if you've got any comments or questions, you can leave them in the chat and the questions and answers, and we can see them for you. Because somebody was just talking, somebody was just writing about natural light, which can work, but I think you really need a little bit more than natural light. If there's no alternative, you need to open every.
It depends on where the light's coming in from.
But even so, in a house, if you have all the windows and doors open and everything open, it's still not going to be as powerful and as crisp, the final product, as when you have a ring light or 3 or 4 lights on you.
Natural light does work. Natural light does work. But if I get an audition and it has to be turned in, because I had an audition come in on Tuesday that they needed it by Wednesday morning, and I knew I couldn't do it Wednesday because I was on set at 7 a.m. in the morning, so there was no way I could do it. So I had to do it at night. So I didn't want to get all the lights out. I just got that one light that hit me in the eyes. Room lights were on. That one just took away the shadows and hit me in the eyes. And so it's an LED, and it's a pretty powerful one which I got from Amazon. But you need somewhere to be able to put that light onto. And it's a hot shoe. There's a grip, there's a camera mount, there's a phone mount that has a hot shoe on the top of it that you can slide it into. And these are usually battery charged. You can buy one really cheaply as well. You can buy them pretty cheap. They've got whole setups for smartphones now that you can buy, rigs that you can buy.
Just moving on slightly from that. So we've got the camera set up. We've got some lights set up.
Well, lights. Okay, so if you're going to use
lights, we've got light slash lights slash like explosive.
If you're going to use more than one light, then you need one at an angle you know, usually if they're going to light it, you need 3 lights, they teach you.
Mm.
1, 2, and 1 behind you. You set it up in that fashion.
Mm.
So you
would, from a technical point of view, I would say the more light you can get on it, the better. Because if you come to editing later on, you'll see that it's easy to make a very bright scene slightly darker, but it's almost impossible to make a dark scene lighter. Sorry, Brian.
I had an audition with George Clooney for Catch-22 to play a sheikh, and I thought I'm completely wrong for the part. Early 30s, small, skinny guy, you know, king, you know, and I just dropped my lights really low, wore a white shirt, and did the audition, and I booked it. So, you know, there's 2 lessons in that. You can mess around with the light if you've got, you know, and number 2, but as you said, you can't add light to it once you've taken it away. And 2, just do every audition at this point that you get coming through.
Definitely,
sorry.
Definitely. We have the lights, we have the camera set up. I'll come to your question in a minute, Jeff. This is leading on to, we've got a question from Jeff, we'll come to it. But the main shot will generally, unless of course the instructions on the self-tape say otherwise, the main shot will be pretty much, I think, what we've got here. You know, it'll be upper chest and head. Would you concur?
Yeah.
I mean, for most.
If it isn't that, they'll ask you for what they want. They usually ask, you know, they might ask for, like, you know, lower down or whatever. But usually, you know, I do what I feel is right for the scene. A friend of mine, he does it right there. 2 guys that I know do it right there. You know, I'm selling, this is what I'm selling. You know, and he's not a good looking guy. He knows it, and he knows that's why he gets work. So that's what he's doing. But I frame it just below my chest.
Yeah, me too. It's roughly what we are now, sort of thing.
Well, I think too much headroom, but yeah.
Yeah, pretty much there. Now, which brings us on, and actually that should be unless somebody says otherwise, but it brings us on to Jeff's question, which actually always puzzles me. It's a lot of self-tapes are going to say, okay, we want, you know, you performing the scene like this, then we want to see a full body shot.
Right.
Now, what I've seen some where you'll get the person just walk right to the back of the room and disappear into the landscape mode. I've seen others where people will actually turn the camera into portrait mode so they fit in more reasonably. What do you do? How do you do it, Anthony? Because I'm never quite sure which way to do it.
I have a lens which I can do. I change my lens on my camera, which enables me to do that from the tip of my toes to the top of my head. But you can, you know, set that up. It's difficult because if you've got someone in the room with you, then you can frame it. They can help you frame it. You tilt down, you get, you go as far back because that's what they asked for, full body shot. So I've got to do my best to get it in. Is there stuff in the peripheral of that shot? Yeah, but what am I going to do?
Well, the last time I did that, I did do a portrait shot of me, but when I came to edit it, I used a sort of filter that fills out the side. So I don't get all the, you know, the chairs and the table and whatever either side.
Did it stretch you out?
It adds a sort of full width background to it, but I'm in focus in the middle.
Widen you though?
I don't need widening.
No, that was the question. Did it widen you along with? Did it stretch it out?
No. I'm perfectly natural portrait mode in the middle, but the sidebars are filled in. Yeah, and that's what I did last time, and they liked it anyway, so it worked.
What is the actual question?
Jeff says, how the hell did you do the full body shot video with
in landscape, very far from the camera? Well, you just don't give it much headroom. You don't give it any headroom. You don't get any room on the feet. And I don't know what you guys edit on, but I use iMovie, but you can use the PC version of it, which means you can hit the edit button and crop button, and you can crop it just pulling the corners till there's that much of me in, you know, the required amount in the shot.
We've got a couple of comments here.
One sec. Did that answer your question, Jeff? Did that answer Jeff's
question? Well, there's a couple of comments on that, Anthony. There's somebody talking about they want an empty background and my apartment is busy. And somebody saying, Jane was talking about having black tabs either side. So in those circumstances, what I do is, like I said, film me vertically. And then rather than have black tabs, which I think are quite heavy and overwhelming and sort of it squashes you in, you can get a filter on some editing programs that will take the general color of your portrait video and spread it out over either side. So right. it's less harsh than a black. Well,
if they're at the point of them seeing going to see your slate because they've liked what they've watched beyond 30 seconds of your tape, then I think it's not going to be that important, because my background, my foregrounds and backgrounds are busy sometimes. So I don't think it's that important. The slate isn't as important as the work you do, as long as they see what your body actually looks like. Your figura, however you say it, I mean, you know, what your body's type is.
Which is why I always, unless it says otherwise, I always put my slate at the end of the video rather than the beginning, because I want them to see immediately what I can do, if you like.
And sometimes put it in a separate file.
Yeah, sometimes they ask. Like I said, if they don't ask, then bam, I'm going to stick it right at the end, you know, almost as an add-on. But talking about editing programs, I know you use iMovies. I use Resolve, which is an awesome program. It's actually a sort of professional level program which you can download for free from the internet. From Blackmagic. It's been used to color correct Alien, Avatar, massive films, and Bourne, and so on and so forth.
You can't color correct on the free version, can you?
Yes, you can. Yeah. You can. There's the color correction we're talking for the paid version, which is about $300, is Hollywood level, but the free version is awesome. And it's much better than any editing program I've ever used. So it's worth thinking about if you're looking for something a little more with a few more tools that you can use.
Yeah,
I would recommend DaVinci Resolve.
I just stitch mine together. You know, I'll remove headroom if I need to.
Yeah,
I'll squeeze it in a little bit more if I need to, especially because I did an audition where I had to do the slate on my own, so I just said it, walked away from the camera, walked back, and then edited that. So I think, yeah. So I try and make that bit as simple as possible.
If you do get into the editing, the two things that I always do when I edit, I always change the brightness a little bit, bring it down just a touch, and I bring the contrast up just a touch. Because most raw footage from cameras, I mean, we're talking generally here, is a little bit flat. And I find that if you just lower the brightness and raise the contrast, it makes you stand out a lot more against your background.
Backlight it, which is why it's backlit, which is why you backlight, because that's what it has, that effect.
Yes.
When you backlight it. So
yeah, it will increase that even more. Even more.
You don't want the light in the shot. But,
yeah, definitely.
So that's the technical side of it. I mean, you know, keep it simple if you can. You know, trying if you need to adjust anything, you know, and it takes practice. It takes practice. I think a tripod is of vital importance. The other thing about using a tripod is this, that you can give yourself more power by having it a slight angle below you. Or if you want to seem like a weaker character, then you put the camera looking a little bit down at you. So that's their POV changes, and normally it's just straight on. So a tripod, always in landscape to shoot, always shoot this way round. Always shoot this way round.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well not send it in if you use portrait, because they're just, yeah.
I like to use, you know, when I was shooting, I'd use the back camera, not the front camera, because it's a better camera. Plus, there's a couple of microphones on the back which are better for it. Try and get a lav mic, which won't cost too much money, which you can put, if you know, put it towards you rather than near your reader, or wherever your reader is. If they're on Zoom, even keep that away, but they must be heard as well. We must hear. Recording your own voice and doing it for me is a no-no, and there's no reason to do that in today's age.
Can we emphasize that? You will find online a number of apps that allow you to record the other person's voice or in the scene, and so you record that, then you play it, and then you live.
I would never do that.
Fill in the spaces, and trust me, it sounds appalling.
Yeah, well,
because you're either rushing to say your line because you think they're going to speak any second, or you suddenly stop speaking and the recorded voice starts speaking. So even if you have to drag somebody in off the street to give you the other lines, don't use a recorder. It sounds bad.
Yeah. And they mustn't overperform either, because it's not their audition.
Yeah, like I said before, my partner often reads my things, and she's always worried. She says, "Oh, you know, but I'm not an actor. I can't do it." And I said, "No, it doesn't matter. Just keep quiet. Or, you know, don't shout. Just give me the lines, and we can take it from there. They don't need to be heard. It's not important for their voice to sound on the tape." You know, so normally you can hear my voice speaking and somebody saying something in the background, but that it's not important to hear them either. And one thing I would like to say, Anthony, which I saw, I think it was just 2 days ago in a self-tape, somebody sent in a self-tape and they were looking 100% directly into the camera throughout. And this was a drama scene. And they were supposed to be talking to somebody, and that is a no-no. As you would do on a real life set, you just look slightly to one side of the camera.
Unless you're playing a news reporter who speaks into camera. Constance, can we come back to your question? And Julia Nika Neviant, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hi, talking of slates, what do you usually put in them and how long should they be? What's required to say and what's optional? Thank you. All right, so usually, Julia, they will tell you what they want in the slate. And for me, it's usually name, height, and where I'm based. Because right now, because of COVID, because of, you know, they'd rather hire someone locally. That's, sometimes they ask you to put availability. Sometimes out here right now, 99.9% of the studios all want vaccinated people. So sometimes, so they'll let you know what they want in the slate. So I usually do my slate in a close-up and then cut and go to a long shot. I have the option to freeze the long shot, the body shot. I have the option freeze frame. So when my tape ends, it's frozen on that. So, so however long it takes me to say what they ask me to say, and then that frame, 2-3 seconds, freeze it, and they, you know, they've got until they turn it off, they can be watching it. Does that answer your question?
I think one thing important to say is that what we're saying here is unless stated otherwise. If the script comes through to you and it says do a slate standing on your head reciting Shakespeare, do it like that. But most of the time they don't say it. So as Anthony said, I would agree, you know, it's just the usual things. Hello, my name is, I'm this, I'm over here. Thank you very much for what, I always add, thank you very much for watching my tape, because I'm nice. I'm nice. I'm nice like that.
It's their job.
No,
Someone for doing their job. Can we
this
bring
is why you get
something?
this is why you get cast as gangsters and nasty
Don't get
people.
cast. That's not true. No, this, this is my second gangster role in my career. Can we bring Constance up for a minute?
Yes, Constance, would you like to appear on screen and?
Yeah, of course she does. She's an actress.
Ah, there she is. Constance, would you like to ask your hello, Constance? So, where are you, by the way? You're in Germany.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. I'm in Germany, in the south, between Stuttgart and Munich.
Oh, lovely place. Love it.
Yeah.
So, what's your question, Constance?
They ask for a file so they can hear my voice, but they don't have a script or something, so I don't know what to say.
All right. The first time I booked a voiceover agent in LA years ago was Don Pitt's Voices, and he said to me, "Go home and read the adverts in a magazine and tape them and send them to me," which is exactly what I did.
Okay. I'm just wanted to know, do they want to hear sad voice or happy, funny? So I don't know.
What's the job?
It's a movie and the world was a second, so I guess I want something sad.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I'm not quite sure what they're asking you to do. They want you to audition for what?
A voiceover for, I think, a nurse or something like that.
A single nurse, did you say? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Right. I mean, they just want to hear the quality of your voice. So just speak about yourself for a minute and a half.
Mm.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I would do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Constance. Yeah, keep it fairly fairly simple and straightforward, you know.
Can you bring Jeff up? Can you bring Jeff up, please?
Jeff, let's get Jeff up here.
Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Jeff.
Good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm sitting here in sunny Los Angeles.
Sitting here in rainy Germany.
Well, it was drizzling this morning, but heaven knows why. But I'm closer to Malibu, but anyway, I'm in LA. So I think your question was, is your slate going to be separate, or do you do it in character? I have seen both, and I think it's difficult for me to suspend my disbelief when I see an actor do a slate and then go into character, or do the thing and then come out and then do their slate. I always do it as a separate thing, number one. And number two, I slate as myself. So the last part that the role I'm playing right now is the capo di tutti capis, the boss of bosses of the mafia, of the five families, who spoke with an Italian accent. And I did it as I slated, "Hi, my name's Anthony Skordi. I'm rep by Susan Zachary." And, you know, and then it faded, and then bang into the audition, because they asked for slate up front.
Super. Yeah. Okay. So it's worth that you keep it as one piece. You do it, and then you keep rolling, and then go into
No.
Separate.
I cut.
Oh, okay.
I cut separately. Yeah. Okay. No. Because it's like, okay, you know, it's like showing them a magic trick, isn't it? How
Exactly.
It's like, and I'd rather put it at the end rather than the beginning. But if they ask for it at the beginning, I have no other choice but to put it at the beginning. So it's always a wise idea to read what the instructions are on the self-tape. It will say, label like this: character name, actor name, location, or it'll be character name, actor name, representation. It could be, you know, or location, or height, or it could be the last one I did was they wanted a separate slate, and they wanted LA and height. They wanted slate dash height dash location LA. So, you know, they're all different. So I think And for them, it's I used to think, assholes, man, what do they want that? And then for them, when they file it, they can find me if I've labeled it right. If I've labeled it wrongly, then it won't come up when they need to find someone who's in LA, who's this, you know what I'm saying? So it behooves me to slate it exactly word for word as they ask.
Okay, super.
You know, because if they're looking for this role and I've put my name first, and everyone's put their name first, they can't find who's playing Carlo, who sent auditions in for Carlo Gambino. So if they see all the Carlo Gambinos in the file, they can pull all those and look at them. But if I've labeled my name first, then they're not going to be able to find my audition, and they may not watch it.
Yeah, I'd reiterate that. Read the instructions so carefully and do exactly what they want, even regardless of how anal it may sound, because somebody somewhere is going to pull you up if you've, sort of sent it in the wrong format or just slightly wrong. It may seem loony, but that's the way it has to work, I think. Thanks very. Have you got any more?
Jeff, any other questions?
Not yet. So far, so good.
Right. Feel free to ask, man.
Thanks.
All right.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. That's another thing. Oh, sorry, I'm pressing the wrong buttons here. That's okay. Yeah, that's the other thing, Anthony. About sending the tapes to them when you have them. Most of the time, it's what I do anyway, unless they say otherwise. What I do is normally upload to YouTube, but unlisted, because a lot of productions don't want their self-tapes out there, for anybody to see. So always upload to Vimeo or YouTube unlisted, and then send via something like WeTransfer.
Not unlisted.
Yes, unlisted.
Password protected.
I always do it unlisted.
Yeah, I'm telling you, password protected. They'll let you know. But I've had one I was doing a voiceover scratch vocals for Netflix, and I was in Athens, and they were like, there is not one studio in Athens that has security clearance. So they can get so anal about this stuff. And I've had 2 auditions in the last 4 months that have been sent directly to me, not via my agent. And then they'll send me a WeTransfer link to send it straight back to them. So WeTransfer. Otherwise, I use WeTransfer a lot, especially with my British agent.
Oh yeah, WeTransfer is so easy to use.
It's so dangerous right now that you can get into a hell of a lot of trouble, especially with the House of the Dragon, all these kind of Netflix, what's it called, the House of the Dragon show that's going on now.
The Game of Thrones.
My agent didn't even see the audition.
No.
My agent didn't even see the audition. So, they get so anal about it, and you can get into so much trouble. But they'll say, please put it, if you're going to put it on Vimeo or YouTube, please make it password protected. All right. But they'll ask for that. But yeah, never make as you rightly said, never make an audition public, and usually they can see how many views it's had. So, and when I've had to do that in the past, I would never view it. I'd see how many times it was actually viewed.
Oh yeah, that's a useful one.
WeTransfer also lets you know when they've downloaded it, by the way.
Somebody sent us in a question beforehand. They were talking about doing the self-tape, and you can rent a studio to do it. And I think the going rate is about 100 quid or 100 euros, whatever, for a couple of hours. Do you think it's worth? I was dubious about using a studio. Some of the studios provide readers as well, but I'm a little bit dubious about that. I think it's more relaxing on your own to do it, because sometimes I'll do like 15 takes of the same scene. I know you're a lot quicker and you do the second take, but I'll do 15 takes until I feel I've really nailed it.
I can't imagine doing 15 takes or something.
Oh no,
unless they've been paid on set. But anyway,
well, no, it's not me. It's my missus. She'll say, "No, don't like it. Do it again." So Would you ever pay? Is it worth? Would you advise anyone to pay for a studio to do it?
If they had no other option, but we have plenty of options today. A friend of mine, Lou Temple, very, very busy actor, used to pay a lot of money to go and get a self-tape done, and he stopped doing that now. You know, he stopped doing that now. Would I suggest that? Under very extraneous circumstances, but no, I wouldn't, because the thing is like what we're missing, what we, the ultimate concern is, what am I presenting on that tape? And as long as they can see me, and as long as they can hear me, that's what's very important. So then what does that leave? What is the difference between, you know, doing an audition, a self-tape in my bedroom, in my living room, in my kitchen, or wherever? What do I need to do in that audition? And it's like, I'm working with a guy called Dexter Fletcher right now, and casting sent a message to my manager saying, oh, he's so cool. And then when I got to set, he was talking to me on the phone. He called me up on the phone, actually. He says, you've got a lot of gravitas, which is what I needed. So it doesn't matter how good or how bad you were. I think it also comes down to, do you have the right essence of the character? Because you may have sent the best audition possible and wonder why. And as we all do, you send 10 self-tapes and you think, why didn't I book anything? And now on IMDb, I can go in and see who viewed my page last week, or an approximation. And then when I see 3 casting offices have looked at my IMDb, then I know that they were interested in me, or I was, and I get pinned a lot, and it's, you're the right person for the job till the next right person comes along. It might not be what, it's the essence of the character that they're looking for. Yes, acting does come into it if it's down to 2 people, but it's never about my work. And then I'm sending so many self-tapes off, and then I start like turning it in on myself. Why am I not booking? Am I that bad? Should I be looking for another career? What the heck is going on? And it could be something so arbitrary that I didn't book the job. But for me to send a tape, they already know that I can do the job. They're not giving me a chance. They know that, and they're hoping I'm the right person that's going to solve their problem.
Oh yes, yeah, you're halfway there. This is what I often say to people, actors, that they want you to succeed. They're desperate when your self-tape arrives. They're hoping that that is the one that's going to bowl them over. They're going in positively. They're saying, like, let's, not exactly praying perhaps, but they're saying, let's open this one. I hope it's the one we want. No, it's not. Okay, let's open the next one. They're looking for that one. So by asking you for a self-tape, you're halfway there anyway. And actually, interestingly, we saw an email the other day that was sent out by a major casting casting agent, rather, talent agency, to all their talents, to all their actors, complaining because they had been sending out castings to the actors to do, and they estimated that 50% of the self-tapes that they asked for were 65% were not returned.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a crazy statistic.
Yeah, but I don't send stuff back, and like
but in all fairness, Anthony, the roles that you're taking are fairly substantial, and I mean, of a certain level. For a lot of us,
well, I'm not available.
We're looking for those work, and so if a self-tape comes to me, I will do it. And the fact that these self-tapes were arriving and that 65% of people weren't sending them back is just crazy. So, can I stress, if you get asked to do a self-tape, do it, because you're already halfway there, because they want you.
It's not a test either. It's something that's there to be enjoyed, like it's an opportunity for me to act, and it's the joy of acting. And it's rather than, how am I going to get this right? What are they looking for? No, this is what I do. This is what I would give you if you put me on set tomorrow. This is exactly what I would do if you put me on set. Not, I'm going to do something like this. So no, strong choices, strong choices. When I was working with Gia Coppola, directing me in something the other day, and she said, oh, could you do this? And I played it fully. And when we cut, I said, split the difference. And she said, yes. And everyone, like, you know, it was like, because, you know, it's like, play it fully. I mean, within, grounded, but fully. Grounded, but fully. Make definite choices. Make definite choices. Where am I coming from? Where am I going? I'm in a room on my own, and I'm supposed to be in a forest. I need to create that forest around me when I'm doing a self-tape.
And another point related to that we've talked about before is that, as we said, if you're asked to do a self-tape, they already like you. And when you do it, you have to remember that you're not necessarily auditioning for this film. If they don't accept you for this film, it's not because your self-tape was bad. It's not because you're a bad actor. It's because you probably didn't quite fit them what they had in mind for the character. However, and I can guarantee this, the good casting directors will remember you. And the next time, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, they will say, just a minute, I've got this character. I know exactly who will fit into it. That person that we got a self-tape of 5 years ago. And that is a true, I mean, this happens all the time. I have literally waited 4 or 5 years to get a role after first meeting the director. And they've come back to me and they remembered me. They said, you weren't right for this role. However, I remembered you and I'll put you in this role. So any opportunity to get yourself in front of a casting director is a golden opportunity. And you need to do it. Never turn it down.
I've got three examples. One is I did a movie, it was a smallish part with Jason Alexander, and about 6 years ago, and then 2 years ago, I got a phone call from the producer asking me if I, you know, if I consider playing this role on a straight offer. The movie was called Stage Mother. I think it's on Netflix in Europe and on Amazon out here. Stage Mother. Sorry,
it was number one in the UK for a while.
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a big hit in the UK.
I don't know. But shit, I should have known that. But anyway, whatever. Lucy Liu, Adrian Grenier, Jackie Weaver, myself. And it was like, wow, you know, I had a straight offer. Then I'm doing a VO in for a video game for one of the Star Wars video games. And we're doing the VO. I was in my friend's home studio, and I was doing it. The director sweltering, sweating my ass off. You know, this time last year, maybe just before July. The director said to me, do you know how you got here? And I'm like, is he talking about the character? And then he turns around and says to me, you did an audition a while back. I heard it and I thought, oh, I need to use his voice somewhere. And he'd remembered me and used it. So if any of you watch Narcos on Netflix, the guy that played the Colombian young guy, head of police, he'd done a show with the showrunner, 9 years, a pilot that didn't go. And the showrunner, Chris Brancato, is a friend of mine, said to him, well, it's more than that now, said to him, I'm going to use you one day. I'm going to use you. And it took him 9 years to use him, and he gave him this role. So, you know, when they say we're going to use you, it doesn't mean tomorrow.
Actually, there's another question here from Daryl, and it's an interesting one, actually. And he says, I hope that the casting director...
Can we bring Daryl up?
Yeah, where's Daryl?
None of you guys are on camera? We can't see your pretty faces. Turn your camera on, Daryl.
I don't know if you can see my pretty face, but can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Daryl.
We can hear. We can't see you.
Yes, sir.
No worries.
No worries. You hear me? Yeah, I really don't think that they expect people to buy professional equipment, or that we're actually doing that or renting space. Like you said, they're interested in you in the first place, and that's why you got the casting.
Right.
So.
Definitely.
So the question was,
how much? I think what the casting directors do the casting directors?
Yeah, they don't really expect that. They don't expect us to rent studio space or really you know, do something that's of end quality.
Yeah, it's funny. No, absolutely not. Otherwise, you'd be a filmmaker and not an actor.
Exactly.
Ultimately, I was watching an American European casting director in Czechoslovakia talking about how tapes should be done. And I thought, and she showed 3 examples, and they completely went against everything that she suggested. That none of them were had a background behind them. You know, one of them, the first scene was shot like this and not like this, but the woman booked the role. So, you know, if you know the rules, you can break them, as the old saying goes. So no, they don't expect, you know, my friend Richie, he keeps booking off his phone, and he's not going to even get an iPhone. He's going to stick to his Android, you know.
Sure.
And can they see me? Can they hear me? Am I present? Am I in the moment? Am I telling the truth?
Yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of times, you know, they watch the few moments of it, and you're either right for the part or you're not. And like you said, they will remember you for something else in the future.
Yeah,
I've had things come back to me as well.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully. I mean, you know, you go on a set and you know, Daryl's an unknown quantity, and he goes on set. He's been booked for the gig. They know exactly what Robert De Niro can do or can't do. So he's a known quantity. Then Daryl comes on set after he's booked the job, and they're like, "Whoa, we knew he could do the job, but what he's bringing now is just totally like, yeah, we just got so lucky with this guy." You know, so, you know, it doesn't end at the self-tape, but we should present what if I heard action on the day and I was on set, this is what you get. Plus, you know, you get the costumes, the lights, the other actors, the sets. You know, they've been doing it a long time, so their imagination can fill in what it needs to fill in, Daryl.
I would say, though, that I think it doesn't do any harm to make the production of your self-tape better. It's not going to lose you the job, but and having an excellent production isn't going to get you the job. But I think it gives a good feeling, and it helps. It's not going to do any harm. So
shows you put in the effort.
Yeah, that's another
extra
thing.
Effort, and it might get you the next job.
Yeah, but what if you got a day? What if you've got a day to do it? You know, I've got a day turnaround on 12, 13 pages. You know, I can't do that. You know, and one of the guys that was a day player on the job that I'm on right now, the long job, he's got a black magic. He's got the lenses. He color corrected it. He put music on it. He did so much stuff to it that I would have been like, the only example, you know, he got the job, but it was, you know, one day on set. And I didn't do all that stuff, and I've got 6 months work, you know. So, you know, but one thing, I've worked with Kevin Spacey. I played his best friend in a thing called The Envelope. And all this was a slow sequence of events. It didn't happen overnight. I started from nothing. I started from a kid from the street, you know, who managed to carve out some kind of career. Anyway, so I've got Kevin Spacey, me and him playing best friends in this short called The Envelope. And it was on my demo reel. And my London agent asked me to take it off. And I thought about it, and we just discussed it. He said, look, man, they're going to be watching that. They're going to be seeing Kevin Spacey, and then they're going to be wondering, oh, I wonder where he is, what he's up to, what he's doing now. Did he really rape that guy? Whatever, blah, 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 blah. So I just removed it. So how does this relate to a self-tape? I don't know. Just make sure the focus is on me and my voice, and you can hear the reader.
Actually, on that thing.
One sec, Daryl, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Feel free to come up again if you have anything else to ask.
Definitely.
All right, thank you.
And on that thing, I mean, I tell people they shouldn't use props or minimal props. Don't overdo things in a self-tape. Like you said, the focus is on you, so there's no need to have like incredible set dressings or anything like that. It's, you know, keep it as simple as it needs to be for the scene. You know, if you need something.
I did an audition recently where it said, I'm listening to Clooney. Well, what's her name? the aunt of George Clooney, and I'm reacting.
Rosemary.
Huh?
Rosemary.
Rosemary. And I'm listening to a song in that and reacting to the song. And I put it, because I use a camera, I put it on my iPhone, put the camera way back, the phone way back in the room, and had that music playing in the background. You know, and I watched a friend of mine's audition tape recently where he's doing a stand-up and he's had people applauding. So, you know, it's how can you embellish it without just making it distracting?
Without making it distracting.
Yeah, but it shouldn't.
I had a self-tape came through to me the other day, and there was so much action in it. The girl was getting up, walking across the room, and they were actually cutting it. And then you'd see her walking back again, and then she was moving, sitting down, standing up. And after a while, I was watching it. I think, what's she going to do next? When I see action on the script, I minimize the action. You know, if there's, you know, if you're in a fight or something, which sometimes happens. It happens to me the other day. I did a self-tape where I was supposed to be in a fight. I just had a hand, and that was it. You know, you can't. You mustn't distract whoever's watching and take them away from what's there.
Can you make it believable? Can you make it believable and readable? And as you say, minimize it. I had to give a Heimlich maneuver the other day. So, you know,
on tape.
Yeah, in the scene. So I moved in, so that much of my head was in, and you could see me doing that. You could tell something was going on.
Yeah.
And I've had to punch as well. So I punch, you know, I punch across the camera, across the lens. If the lens is there, I'll punch across it, and the fist will go out, you know, out of frame, the hand. So if it hits someone, you can't tell. You know, it's not punching in the air. I never take a gun into an audition, a real gun into a real audition.
There is one question I have that I did a self-tape a few days ago for that callback, and it was me and somebody else speaking, several people in the room, you know, bit of conversation, and then I was sitting listening for about a full page of dialogue. Now, I know that a lot of acting is, you know, reacting, watching, seeing what's going on and everything, but it was like a full page. Now, I decided in the end it was just too long for me not doing nothing, but not just listening. So I faded it out after, like, you know, 5 or 10 seconds or something. Would you have done that, or would you just?
No.
But it's just.
No, I would never have done that. I would never have done that, because it's an opportunity for my character to show their inner life, how they're reacting to this without doing anything. See, the hardest thing for any actor to do, and could you bring Jane up, please? I think she's the hardest thing to do is for an actor to sit still and do nothing, because they think they've got to keep doing something, you know. And it's when they were doing. I don't need to bring movies into as an example, but yeah, sit there and watch your inner life, because I'm doing this scene with Giovanni Ribisi, and I'm doing a scene with Mike Rispoli, who you guys know from The Godfather, from Sopranos, and a bunch of other stuff. And he turned around in the scene, he said to me, "I'm talking my ass off, and the camera's just going to be on you." For fuck's sake, he said to me. And so, you know, it's of vital importance that I keep that stuff in, because actors tend not to have a single fucking thought in their heads. I need to see the inner life. And that is an absolute beautiful opportunity for me to sit there and listen, because actors don't listen. I need to listen in order to be able to react, you know, and sorry that I'm saying this, but that's, you know, I wish you'd asked me before. I would have told you this before. Keep it in there, listen, sit down, listen to what.
Well, I had a page of dialogue I was listening to, and I listened for about that much, and then I thought, all right. Hello, Jane. Nice to have you here. How are you doing? Jane, like myself, is living in Malta. You're in Malta now, are you?
I am in Gozo, yeah.
Oh, nice and hot, isn't it?
It's lovely. I'm sorry about the sound of the fan, but it
I've
has
got
to
my
be
fan
done
here as well. You can see. Do you have a question for us, Jane?
Yeah, it was the props one. I had a self-tape not so long ago, and the character was having to use an iPad was offered a drink, had to smoke in a couple of scenes. And I honestly didn't know whether to just mime as if she had these props or actually physically have them. So I used an empty glass, I used an iPad. I don't smoke, but I sort of mimed a pretend cigarette, as it were. But it was something that it did play on my mind. Is it good to use props or not good to use props?
Well, the one thing about, may I, Sean? The one thing about an iPad is that if you're using an iPad, it's going to throw some weird light on your face. So I would have the iPad turned off.
Yes, it was definitely.
Right. So you knew what you know what I mean about it throwing light on your face. And would I have a drink? Yes. Would I have a cigarette? Well, I would. But I've had an audition. The character was called, you know, he smoked a lot. And so they said, if you don't want to smoke in the audition, we understand. But so therefore, that means if you're supposed to smoke, then smoke if you do. Would I have had a glass in there? Yeah, because so much can be achieved through telling a story by the way I drink and when I choose to drink. When I choose to take a drag on the cigarette, it changes the rhythm of the scene. It breaks the scene up. There might be a change of action, of motivation in the scene, and I can use that because I can't physically move out of frame to change anything, but I can use the props in it to enable me to show that change in the character. I've got a 3 or 4 page scene with Giovanni Ribisi in the second episode of this thing, where he's saying, we're kind of going at it, you know, internally, it's more going at it than it was externally, but it was palpable. And I needed to break the scene. I needed to take control of the room again. So I got up, I walked to the coffee that was behind me, poured myself a coffee, dropped some sugar in there, stirred it, turned around, looked at him, took a sip of my coffee, and then answered his question. So that completely changed the rhythm of the scene. And through that, I was able to show a plethora of things. And I'd said to Dexter, Dex, man, I know we rehearsed it like this on Friday, but can I try this? And I said, I'm going to take my time. He said, no, take your time. Don't say it till the line sits, and I'll cut whatever I need to cut out of it if I need to cut. So I can tell as an actor so much. I can tell so many stories with a prop.
So it's a case of give more and let them decide what to take out, kind of thing.
Well, that's different because I'm actually in a situation where we're shooting for real. So when I'm doing and when I'm doing it in the audition situation, I can still do those things and still play them fully, you know. But if I'm really pissed, I could show it by the way I, drink my wine, or the way I put the wine glass down, or the way I close the iPad, or the way I stub my cigarette out. That, I've been here for 20 minutes, although the scene's just starting for the audience. The way I stub my cigarette out shows frustration of me going through this for the last 20 minutes, trying to get an answer from this person. So I can utilize these props to tell the story. Like I said at the beginning of this thing, that everything I do in the audition, on camera, has to be part of moving the story forward, of telling the story. And that these props serve towards doing that, Jane.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's put my mind at rest.
Please don't be disappointed about the audition that you did just because you didn't use those things. It doesn't necessarily follow that you won't get it.
While I've got you, just going back on what we were saying about, like you said about the movements, the actions, the punching. There was a tape. I didn't do it in the end because I couldn't get my head around it. It was a scene where the character was there was actually no words in the sides that were sent for this character, but she was under attack and was lying on the floor, and it was a sci-fi type scene with a laser gun. And I just thought, I don't know how to put that on a self-tape. So I spoke to the casting guy and said, I've got no idea how to put this on a self-tape. And he said, okay, don't worry about that one, just go for the other two. But I'm just while I've got you guys here, just a general question. What would you do? What would you guys do in that situation?
again, I've kind of already answered it when Sean said he cut instead of listening to a page worth of dialogue. It's what's the inner life.
So would you change the camera angle, because she was literally on the floor? Would you change the camera angle to be above? You know, it's not like standing in front of the camera for that.
It depends on how committed you are. You know, I could have gotten whoever was holding the camera to hold the camera above me in their hands and do it. See, I think of these things on the hoof. I know what the rules are, so I can break them, Jane. You know what I mean? So, you know, if I decide that it's going to serve me telling the story by having someone standing over me with the camera, with the phone, with whatever I'm shooting it with, and me going through that inner life performance, as it were, then that's what I would do. You know, see, when I get a self-tape, I always think, where am I going to set it? What do I want in the background? Where am I? You know, I figure those things out. So I would have sold that before I'd gotten to actually shooting it. The other thing that I tend to do, and I think it bears telling here, is that I don't get up in front of the camera with my reader from the get-go. No, I'll do 3, 4, 5 passes at it, read the scene, and then say, I'm ready, let's tape it.
Okay,
actually, on that one, Jane, I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago now, I did a self-tape, and basically the scene was, I was tied up and stuck in a car at the back, in the boot of a car, and they wanted to see me escape. So there was no dialogue at all. I was just tied up until somebody opened the boot of the car. And so we did it. You know, I was lying on a bed, and I just like draped a sort of sheet, as it were, over the top to sort of constrict it. And I was lying there, and I was like, "No, get me out, get me out, get me out." And you know, as if I'd been in the bottom of a trunk, and it worked. I mean, I got the job, which was cool, based on that self-tape. So I would say do it. And since you're in Malta, the next time you have a self-tape like that, we can do it together if you like, and I'll come and hold the camera over the top of you.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Yeah, no, happy to do that.
So, were there any other questions that people had sent in? Because we were over the hour now.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. I'll take you. I'll put you down now. If that's an expression I can use. There you go. Yes, I think we're about done. As I said.
Were there any other questions? I think people sent questions in, or have we done them?
We've basically done them, unless anybody has got any last-minute questions that we could have a look at. I think we're done. I think we're done. As I said at the beginning, what we'll do, this tape, once in a couple of days, in a few days' time, we'll, you know, tidy it up a little bit, and then we'll put it online. And I believe it's going onto the enCAST site, but everybody will learn about that as we go. And then hopefully as well, we'll have a few more of these webinars in the future. So if you do have anything that you're particularly interested in, you know, talking about, you know, show reels, auditions, live auditions, whatever, you know, headshots, whatever, we'll hopefully be able to organise that for you.
And also we can assess self-tapes, or we can help people do their self-tapes if they get any coming up. And they're more because we're not going to go back to in-room auditions anytime soon.
Definitely with COVID. And as I said, this is being sponsored by enCAST.eu, and they do have a sort of facility in place. So if you have self-tapes, if you have show reels, they're happy to look at it. And since Anthony and I are sort of associated with them, you know, it might be us, it might be other people, but you'll get somebody decent having a look at your self-tape.
And if you don't ask for Sean, you'll end up with me, poor sausages.
You see, I'm so much nicer than Anthony. Anthony's too hard. Right.
Yeah, I'm like the trainer who's training you to run a race, and you hate me till you win that race.
Yeah, but I'm yeah, whatever. Right, I'm going to close this room in a minute, but first off, thank you everybody very much for coming along. It was marvelous and very interesting as well. And then, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that there was a lot of information that I learned a lot from listening to Anthony. So it was marvelous to hear some of those tips. And I wish I'd spoken to him before my most recent self-tape, but next time anyway.
No, you know what, you're welcome to. Anyone want to ask any questions through enCAST, they can filter them to me. I'm quite happy to answer them. Or as you said, do another hour one, not hour and a half one, at a time on anything that anyone feels the need that they need to talk about or, you know, learn about.
Exactly. Thank you very much indeed to Anthony. And thank you very much indeed for everybody else who's here and all those who asked questions. Marvelous, very interesting to see you. And it was great that we had people from all around Europe, literally all around Europe. Don't you have to love Zoom? Brilliant, isn't it? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Right, guys, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to end the room now. Have a good night. Best wishes. Ciao, ciao.
Keep the faith, stay creative.
Keep the faith, indeed. Ciao, ciao.